Happy New Year to everyone. Now, last year we received about 2,000 submissions. That is the annual submission, probably among the highest among all tourism journals. And the rejection rate, the desk rejection rate is about 73%. So about 3/4 of the submissions were desk rejected. And this included the managing editor rejection, which is about 39–40%, followed by the editor-in-chief's desk rejection, which is about 27%, then followed by the associate editor's desk rejection, which is about 7%. So in total, it's about 73% desk rejection. And then the other remaining 27% of the submissions went through the review process, and the average review time is about 8 weeks. And the overall acceptance rate in the end is about 7–9%. So among the 27% of the papers going through the review process, about 1/3, 7–9% out of 27% were accepted eventually. So that is the general statistics. Okay, good. Thank you, Valerio, for sharing. I can see your comments in the chat box. Rejoined to a viewpoint. It's very good. It's a different review process, so the review was made by the editor-in-chief. Yes, this is a special category. So very constructive approach. Very good. I'm really glad to hear your feedback. Yes, as editors, we are all in the responsibility to maintain the rigorous process and the smooth communication within our community. So if readers or other authors have different views towards the published papers, so the rejoinder is a format of such communication. And as editors, we will try our best to facilitate such communication, two-way communication between readers and authors. And this is the way we continue to advance our knowledge and to ensure the rigor of the research process.
Hi, Professor. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
Could you please give me some suggestions about practical implication about tourism economics? I think it's not easy to write practical implications, especially doing research about economics. So could you please give me some suggestions? Thank you.
Very good question. Thank you very much, Yu Hong. Yes, tourism economics is one of the probably long-standing disciplinary field for tourism research. As we know, tourism research basically is a multidisciplinary field of research. We can approach a tourism phenomenon from all social science disciplines, and economics is one of them, and one of the very classical and long-standing disciplines. There are also different branches of tourism economics. Some of the economic topics are related to government policy, like taxation issues. Some topics are related to the firm-level strategy, such as pricing, revenue management. So it depends on the exact topic in tourism economics. If the topic is about, for example, the air passenger tax, let's say tourism taxes, whether tourism taxes will increase government's tax revenue or not. For such research, then the practical implications are mostly relevant to tourism-related policy. So it's the policy-related implications. If the topic itself is based on macroeconomics or industrial economics, focusing on firm behavior, strategy, revenue management, then the practical implications should focus on the competitive strategy, the strategic decision makings of hotels, restaurants at the firm level. So this really depends on the exact topic, whether it's macroeconomics is used as the foundation for the research, or it is the microeconomics or industrial economics, or i.e. the focus, whether it's focusing on a destination level or it's on the firm level, a hotel, restaurant, a company level. So these are all relevant considerations when a researcher considers practical implications for a tourism economic research. It's a very good question.
Yeah. And I think it's not easy to write these practical implications.
Yes, I think it does. As with any implications writing, it does require researcher to have a good understanding of your own research methodology, theory, key findings, as well as the practice. So in order to be able to inform practitioners, the tourism stakeholders, to take your research findings on board to influence their practices, I think researchers themselves should have some good understanding of the real world practice. Now, often we see some of the papers submitted to tourism management receive negative review feedback. Some of them are because of the weak practical implications. So in some occasions, the practical implications are too general. This may reflect the lack of practical knowledge of the researchers and the research team. And sometimes we found the practical implications, the recommendations made by the authors actually were already in practice. So this also shows a little bit of lack of mutual understanding between the academic world and the real world. So a good piece of research does require the researchers to have good understanding of both sides of the world, both the academic world and the practical world. And that's why sometimes interviewing key stakeholders, either formally or informally, to have their insights into the process will be helpful, especially at the early stage. When you design the research process, you involve key stakeholders in the industry at the government level, then that probably will help you to shape the research focus and the process, and also help you to draw useful and the meaningful implications in the end. So stakeholder engagement could be key if possible.
Professor Gang Li,
Hi,
can you hear me?
Frank. Yes, I can hear you well. Where are you based?
I just in my room, but I didn't open my laptop.
Are you based in Asia or?
No, I'm in Hong Kong actually.
Okay, it's also your evening time.
Yes. Actually, I don't have too much questions, but I have probably one research problems is about the econometrics. So I think some problems, I don't know sometimes if I should choose using big data with some text data or choose some econometric data like panel data, something else to check or solve some problems. So may you give me some answer?
Thank you, Frank, for the question. It's a very good question. It's a general, big question. I think the key consideration, in my opinion, is what research question you have. So the choice of the methodology should serve the purpose of your research question, your research aim and the objectives. And to ensure the rigor of the research process, I think Professor Xu mentioned in the previous webinars, that multiple data, multiple methods approach is becoming more and more popular and necessary, because each single method and data type may have their limitations. So to ensure the rigor, using multiple data sources and the multiple methods, if they are used in the effective way, then they can improve the rigor of the research design. So back to your specific question, the big data analytics and the econometric methods It really depends on the question and also depends on the type of data. Big data can also sometimes work with econometric methods. Sometimes it works well with machine learning, this kind of artificial intelligence methods. So it really depends on the specific question you have. But what I would like to say is, in addition to ensure methodological rigor, I think researchers should also consider, particularly for highly quantitative research, the theoretical foundation of your research design, of your econometric models or the big data analytic tools. The research should be grounded in solid social science theoretical foundation rather than being purely data-driven. I think this is my view. So consider the theoretical foundation, the choice of the variables, the choice of the method should have strong, solid theoretical justification rather than a random choice of whatever big data available to the researcher. So that is number one. And then in terms of different streams of quantitative methods, whether econometric methods would be better or machine learning or other type of methods, I think it will be useful to review the advantages and the limitations of each method and see which method or methods together fit your research question, your research purpose the best. Or if different sets of the research methods have their limitations and they can compensate each other on certain aspects, then drawing multiple data sets and the multiple analytical tools together would be ideal. Hope this answers your question, Frank. Let me also just share some observations and repeat some of the guidelines for authors in case some of you may consider submitting your papers to tourism management soon. Tourism management requires authors to submit a 100-word impact statement. And this impact statement is very important for the editors and the reviewers to understand the broader impact of your research on the community, on the industry. So from my experience, we found quite often some authors misunderstood the meaning of impact statement. So the impact statement here requires you to write the broader impact, the impact beyond academia. So the non-academic impact on tourism practice, on policy, on management is what we expect to read from this impact statement. On some occasions, I found some authors repeated their academic contribution, talking about their contribution to theory or to methodological advancement. This is not what we expect you to write under the impact statement. So for clarification, so if anyone is considering submitting your paper to tourism management in the future, so please do bear in mind what you need to write under this title, impact statement. Another reminder is tourism management, similarly to many academic journals, require some similarity check, and the submitted manuscript will go through the similarity check before it's passed on to editors. So as authors, it will be very useful for you to first to make sure that you did not copy and paste some original text from any other resources. And secondly, do your own similarity check before submitting the paper. In case if this goes beyond the threshold, then it will be rejected and it will basically cause some delay. So the general principle for tourism management is the overall similarity should not go beyond 15%. And for each single source, the similarity between the manuscript and a single source should not be over 1%. So these are the key thresholds. So when you consider submitting a paper, please do the similarity check by yourself and make sure you meet the journal's requirement. Another relatively new requirement, and this is also common practice among many academic journals, is to have the declaration of the use of AI. On tourism management website, on the author's guides, there are clear definitions and guidelines on what you can use generative AI, such as ChatGPT, for your writing and what is not allowed. So in principle, you can use those generative AI tools to improve readability and check the language issues, but you are not allowed to use those AI tools for gaining insights or run analysis on your behalf. So you need to declare how you used ChatGPT or any other AI tools when you submit your papers to tourism management. Okay, does anyone have any further questions?
I'll do one question since.
Sure, Gabriel. Yes.
So I always see tourism management as this leading outlet, right, in terms of methodological innovation in the field of tourism. Currently, I'm working on a paper that we intend to use hierarchical cluster analysis as this approach to analyze the data. While the paper is well grounded in theory and we are addressing a critical research gap, I have that lingering concern that some reviewers may perceive the use of HCA as insufficiently in terms of innovative and methodological perspective. If we receive a feedback like this, how do you think we should address? I don't know if you had any.
Again, Gabriel, this is a very good question. It really depends on your research design. And when we talk about theoretical contribution or methodological contribution, we should understand that the contribution itself is not a binary variable. From a journal's perspective, it's not that your paper has a theoretical or methodological contribution or not at all. So it's not either yes or no. It's a spectrum. It really depends on to what extent you feel your research can make methodological contribution. Whether the paper itself is advancing the methods for tourism research and drawing some useful and new insights into certain tourism phenomena, or it's a simple application of an existing method from, let's say, other fields or the general methodological field to tourism. So this is the question you need to consider. If you do believe by using new advanced methods for the first time, for example, in tourism research, it's not a mere application. It helps us to understand some tourism questions and tourism phenomena in a more advanced way. You can show further insights compared to using other traditional methods talking about and researching about the same question. So this is the justification from the author perspective to justify that you have advanced our knowledge by using new advanced methodology. But you are right that the starting point definitely is to have a solid theoretical foundation when you talk about methodological innovation. So the research design needs to be theoretically sound, well justified, and then by using advanced tools, you gain further insights into the research question. Yeah. Very good question.
Hi, Professor. There is a further question about practical implication.
Yes, sure.
Should every paper have practical implications? When we
Mm.
finish research, and editors and reviewers will ask a question, so what? Even in a literature review paper, some reviewers also ask the authors to add the part of practical implication. So how about your viewpoint?
I guess this may depend on, again, this is a very good question, whether all research should have practical implications. This really depends on the journal you are targeting. In general, I don't think any research should have practical implications. There are all different types of research. But for example, if you aim to submit your paper, your research to tourism management, then the answer is definitely yes. Because as a journal of tourism management, the managerial implications, policy implications are key. And that is required by the journal. And this is the positioning of the journal. But not all journals require practical implications or require practical implications to the equal extent. So it depends on your target journal. But from my perspective, if you are researching some general tourism phenomenon, and that is a real world issue, and I do think we should, as researchers, we should have responsibility of using our knowledge, our analytical tools to help address those issues in the real world. Therefore, such research should have practical implications.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Again, very good question about the implications, and we do see the comments you mentioned become more and more common, i.e. the reviewers keep asking the questions such as, so what? What are your implications? What can you do for practice? What can you use your research findings for practice? So I think if researchers are considering submitting their papers to tourism management, certainly you should consider these questions as early as possible at the beginning of your research design, rather than you finish the work and then think, oh, what is that useful for? Yeah.